The lights were too bright for a man who was about to be erased. I stood at the edge of the gala hall, my hand resting on the cuff of my old suit, watching people laugh like they owned the world. Crystal chandeliers hung above like frozen fire. Every sound felt sharp, like it was cutting into my skin. Then I saw her. Victoria Hale, my wife. She didn't look at me at first. She was standing on the stage, calm, perfect, untouchable. The kind of woman people stop talking for without even realizing it. And beside her, Daniel Brooks. He leaned slightly toward her like he already belonged there. My fingers tightened. Something inside me already knew tonight was not going to be normal. Still, I walked forward. I told myself I was her husband. That mattered. At least it used to. A staff member guided me closer to the stage. My name had been on the guest list, but even that felt strange now. Like I was only allowed inside because someone forgot to remove me. Victoria finally looked at the crowd. Her voice carried easily. Thank you all for coming tonight. Applause followed. I stood near the side, waiting for the moment she would acknowledge me. Maybe a glance. Maybe something small. I was wrong. Her eyes moved across the room and stopped on me. Just for a second. No warmth. No recognition. Only calculation. Then she smiled again. That man standing over there, she said, tilting her head slightly toward me, is someone I once trusted deeply. A few heads turned toward me. My chest tightened. Once trusted. Not husband. Not partner. Not even a name. Just someone. Victoria stepped forward on the stage, heels clicking softly against the floor. Her next words came clean and sharp. But I think it's time I correct a mistake from my past. A low murmur spread through the crowd. My throat went dry. I wanted to move. I wanted to stop her. But my body didn't listen. Daniel stood still beside her, watching me now, smiling. That smile wasn't friendly. It was patient, like he had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Victoria raised her hand slightly, as if introducing a product or problem. Ethan Cole, she said at last. My name. Finally. But it didn't feel like mine anymore. A soft laugh broke somewhere in the audience. Then another. It spread like a disease. My stomach dropped. Victoria continued without hesitation. He is a personal mistake I plan to correct soon. Silence hit after that. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that crushes. My ears rang. I felt every eye on me at once. Some curious. Some entertained. Some pitying. A mistake. That word repeated inside my head until it stopped meaning anything. My hand slowly moved to my left finger. The wedding ring was still there. Cold metal against skin that suddenly felt to everything around me. I looked at her again. She wasn't shaking. She wasn't unsure. She was composed like she had just closed a business deal. Daniel leaned closer and whispered something to her. She didn't react, but her eyes stayed on the crowd like I didn't exist anymore. Like I had already been removed. Then Victoria lifted a thin folder from the podium. White papers inside. Even from where I stood, I recognized them. Divorce documents. My breath stopped. She stepped down from the stage. Slow. Controlled. Every step felt louder than the music that had stopped playing. People made space for her without thinking. She walked straight toward me. My heart hammered harder with each step. Stop. Just stop. But she didn't. She reached me and placed the folder into my hands. No shaking. No hesitation. Her fingers didn't even brush mine for long. Sign them, she said softly, so only I could hear. Her voice was quieter now, but somehow worse. Like I was already gone. I stared at the papers. My name was already printed. Everything already prepared. Even the ending. You planned this, I whispered before I could stop myself. Her eyes flicked up to mine for a moment. No emotion. No, she said. I finalized it. That was worse. Finalized. Like I was never part of something real. Behind her, I could hear faint laughter again from the guests who thought this was part of some performance. Some dramatic business announcement. I almost wanted to laugh too, because it felt unreal. Daniel appeared at her side again, calm as ever. He didn't look at me directly, but I felt his satisfaction anyway. Victoria turned slightly, already losing interest in me. You can leave after signing, she added. Quietly would be better. Quietly. Like I was noise she wanted removed without disturbance. My fingers closed around the folder. The paper edges cut into my skin. I looked at her one last time. There was no anger in her face, no regret, only distance. I gave you everything I had, I said, my voice lower than I expected. She didn't respond, not even a blink. That silence hurt more than anything she could have said. My grip tightened on the folder. For a second, I thought maybe she would stop me. Maybe something would break in her expression. But nothing changed, so I nodded once. Not because I agreed, because I understood. I turned away. The crowd blurred as I walked through it. Voices mixed into nothing. The chandeliers above felt like they were watching me leave. My ring stayed on my finger, but everything else was already gone. At the exit, I paused for half a second. My reflection appeared in the glass door. A man still wearing a wedding ring, but no longer a husband in anyone's world. I pushed the door open. Cold air hit my face. Behind me, the music started again like nothing had happened. Like I had never existed there at all. My hand tightened around the folder until my knuckles turned pale. And I kept walking. I told myself I was done. But deep inside, something dangerous had already begun to wake up. Because as I stepped into the night, I realized something worse than betrayal. She hadn't just humiliated me. She had erased me on purpose. The door clicked behind me, but it didn't feel like I entered my home. It felt like I entered someone else's life by mistake. The hallway was too clean, too quiet, too perfect, like nothing messy like me had ever lived here. My suitcase wheels dragged across the marble floor. Slow sound, heavy sound. No footsteps came to greet me. Victoria's heels usually echoed here before anything else. Not tonight. I stood still for a second, waiting for her voice from the living room. Nothing. Only the faint buzz of a phone somewhere deeper in the house. I walked forward anyway. The living room light was on. She was sitting on the couch, face lit by her phone screen. Her thumb moved fast, like the world on that screen mattered more than the man standing in the same room. I stayed near the doorway. She didn't look up, not even once. My fingers tightened on the handle of my suitcase. "You're home early," I said softly. No answer, only a slight pause in her scrolling, then nothing. Like she decided I wasn't important enough to respond. I stepped further inside. On the coffee table, something caught my eye. A frame. I reached for it before I even realized. Our wedding photo, or what used to be it. The frame was empty, just glass and dust. My hand froze midair. I looked again, like I had misunderstood. Empty, not broken, not moved, removed. My throat went dry. "Where's the photo?" I asked. Her phone stayed in her hand. Her voice came without looking at me. "Old things get replaced." Simple sentence. No emotion. My fingers slowly lowered the empty frame back onto the table. Something inside me tightened, but I pushed it down. Maybe she meant office. Maybe she meant storage. Maybe. I stopped myself. Excuses were getting easier than truth. I walked toward the dining area. The table was set. 2 plates. 2 glasses. Dinner was already cold, but something was wrong again. Only one chair looked recently used. The other felt untouched, like it was placed there out of habit, not expectation. I sat down anyway. She finally stood up. Slow movement. Controlled. She walked past me toward the stairs. No glance. No pause. "Dinner?" I asked. Her hand rested on the stair railing. A small silence stretched between us. Then, "I already ate." She went upstairs. That was it. No apology. No invitation. No second thought. I sat there alone, staring at the untouched plate in front of me. The food smelled normal, but nothing about this house did anymore. My fork stayed untouched. My appetite had already left before I sat down. That night, I opened my phone. My banking app didn't load properly. Then it did. Something changed. My shared account access was gone. I refreshed again. Same result. A small notification popped up. Access restricted by account owner. My thumb froze on the screen. Owner. Not partner. Not spouse. Owner. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I checked our shared drives. My folders were missing. My files locked. My permissions gone. Slowly, like someone was cleaning me out of existence without touching me directly. A vibration hit my phone. "Mark." Finally something normal. I picked up. His voice came fast, already worried. "You need to stop ignoring this. Something is wrong with her." I leaned back against the wall. "I just came home." She's stressed. A short laugh came through the line. Stress doesn't erase your name from accounts, Ethan. I didn't answer because I didn't want to hear it. Mark continued anyway. I saw Daniel Brooks at her office twice this week. Late nights, closed doors. My grip tightened around the phone. That doesn't mean anything. A pause. Then his voice dropped. You're still wearing your ring, right? My eyes went to my left hand. The ring felt heavier than before. I am, I said. Another silence. Then Mark spoke slower. Just don't ignore what's happening in front of you. The call ended after that. Not by me. By him. Like even he knew I wasn't ready to listen. I stayed standing in the hallway long after the phone went dark. The house made no sound. No TV. No music. No life. Only the faint ticking of a wall clock that suddenly felt too loud. Days started to blur after that. Victoria stopped asking where I was. She stopped asking anything at all. Some nights, she came home late. Some nights, she didn't come to bed. I started noticing things I kept pretending not to notice. My shoes moved closer to the door. My clothes shifted in the closet. Slow changes. Small removals. Like the house was adjusting itself without asking me. One evening, I opened her office door. Not because I planned to, because I needed water. That's what I told myself. But I stopped the moment I saw the desk. Her screen was on. A message thread open. Daniel's name at the top. I didn't read everything. I didn't need to. Her laugh was there in memory, not sound. That was enough. I stepped back before she could see me. My heart didn't race. It just sank. Heavy. Calm. Final in a quiet way. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stood in front of the mirror in our bedroom. Our bedroom, or what used to be. My reflection looked the same, but it didn't feel like me anymore. I slowly opened the drawer beside the bed. Inside, papers. Folded. Neatly placed. My name printed on top. Divorce documents. Already signed on her side. Already prepared. Already waiting. My fingers touched the edge of the paper. No shaking. Just stillness. Like my body had accepted something my mind kept refusing. I heard footsteps outside the room. Victoria passed by the door. She didn't stop. Didn't look in. Didn't ask why the light was still on. I sat on the edge of the bed with the papers in my hand. Hours passed like that. Me in silence. Me in a decision I didn't want to name yet. The next morning, I saw Daniel's car outside the house. Not parked far. Not hidden. Right there. Like he belonged. Victoria stood near the entrance when I came down. For a second, I waited. Just 1 second. Maybe she would explain. Maybe she would deny. Maybe she would even look uncomfortable. She didn't. Her eyes passed over me like I was already something from the past. Daniel walked out a moment later. His suit was perfect. His smile was lighter than it should have been. He adjusted his watch like he had all the time in the world. No tension. No guilt. Just certainty. Victoria didn't introduce him. She didn't need to. That was the worst part. I stepped back inside without speaking. The door closed behind me again. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was walking into a home. I felt like I was walking deeper into something that had already replaced me. That night, I packed my suitcase. Not fast. Not angry. Slow. Careful. Like I was removing myself from a life I used to believe in. I placed the wedding ring on the bed. It made a small sound against the sheet. Almost nothing, but it echoed in my head louder than anything else that day. I looked around the room one last time. No one came. No voice called my name. No hand stopped me. Only the house breathing without me in it. I picked up the suitcase and walked toward the door. But the moment I closed it behind me, I realized she never tried to stop me. The apartment door shut behind me with a sound too small for how big my life had just become. One room. One bed. One chair near the window. That was it. No marble floors. No silence pretending to be luxury. No Victoria in the next room acting like I didn't exist. Just me. And the echo of everything I lost. My suitcase stayed on the floor for a long time before I opened it. My fingers moved slow, like they didn't belong to me anymore. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel free. I just felt empty in a way that didn't hurt loudly. It just stayed. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at my phone. No calls. No messages I wanted to open. Only her name sitting at the top of my screen. Victoria Hale. Unread messages started to build up. 1, then 3, then 5. All sitting there like they were waiting for a version of me that no longer existed. I didn't open them because I already knew what they weren't saying. Back at the apartment door, Mark was the first person to show up the next morning. He didn't knock like a guest. He knocked like someone who already knew I was falling apart. "You look like you didn't sleep," he said as he stepped inside. I sat on the floor, back against the wall. "I slept fine." He didn't believe it. Neither did I. He placed a paper bag on the small table. "Food. And don't argue." I didn't. For a while, only the sound of unpacking filled the room. Then his voice came slower. "You're really out now." I looked at the empty wall. I walked out. "That's different." A short pause. Then he exhaled. "No, Ethan. That's the same thing. Just delayed pain." I didn't answer, because he was right. But I wasn't ready to admit it. He pulled out his laptop. "Start here. Freelance work. Nothing big. Just enough to keep you moving." I stared at the screen. Moving. That word felt strange. Like my life had stopped, and I was being asked to restart it without fixing anything. Still, I nodded, because I didn't know what else to do. Days began to blend after that. Morning light through a thin curtain. Coffee that tasted like nothing. Work that kept my hands busy so my mind didn't fall apart. And silence. A lot of silence. Victoria's name stayed on my phone. Unread messages kept increasing. Sometimes I saw the preview lines without opening them. "Where are you? We need to talk. Why aren't you responding?" I always locked the screen before it went further, because I knew what would happen if I opened it. I would go back, and I wasn't sure I could survive going back. One afternoon, Mark came in faster than usual. His face was different. Tight. Focused. "You need to see something," he said, already opening his laptop. I didn't move from the chair. "What is it?" He turned the screen toward me. Documents. Company reports. Financial flows. Victoria's company name everywhere. And another name beside it. Daniel Brooks. My eyes narrowed slightly. Mark didn't wait. "Look at the approvals. He's redirecting internal funds. Changing contract terms without board review." I leaned forward slowly. Lines of numbers. Signatures that didn't feel right. "This is internal," I said quietly. "Exactly," he replied, "which means someone inside is helping him, or not stopping him." I stared longer. Something inside the data felt wrong in a way I couldn't explain yet, like cracks hidden under polished glass. Mark closed the laptop slightly. "There's more. Victoria is starting to lose control in meetings. Board members are pushing back. Her father is involved now." At the mention of her father, something tightened in my chest. Henry Hale didn't tolerate failure. Ever. I leaned back. "She'll handle it," I said, but my voice didn't sound convinced. Even to me. That night, I didn't sleep again. I kept looking at my phone. Unread messages kept growing. It should have meant something, but it didn't feel like love. It felt like distance, trying to remember how to speak. Somewhere in that same time, Lisa Morgan started appearing in my life in fragments. First as an unknown email, then as a file, then as a message that deleted itself after I opened it. She was Victoria's assistant, or at least she used to be. Her messages were careful, short, always incomplete. Something is off in the system. Daniel is not just a partner. He is changing decisions before she sees them. I stared at that last line longer than the rest. Before she sees them. Not with her approval. Not with her awareness. Behind her. That thought stayed with me longer than I wanted. I didn't reply, because I didn't know if I should trust it, or if I was just looking for a reason to still be connected to her world. The next morning, I saw Victoria's name flash on my screen again. I didn't open it. I just watched it disappear into the growing list of unread messages. And for the first time, I didn't feel the urge to answer. Not because I stopped caring, but because something inside me started accepting the truth I kept avoiding. She wasn't waiting for me. She was reacting to losing control. And there was a difference I couldn't ignore anymore. Mark noticed it in me too. "You're quieter," he said one evening. I stared at the window. "I stopped waiting," I said. He didn't respond immediately. Then he nodded once. "Good. Waiting keeps you stuck." I didn't know if it was good yet. It just felt different. Not lighter. Just mine. Days passed like that. Work. Silence. Messages I didn't open. Until one evening, everything shifted. My phone vibrated once. Unknown number. Then a file arrived. No text. No explanation. Just a document. From Lisa. My fingers hesitated before opening it. Mark's voice was somewhere in the background, asking something I didn't hear. I tapped the file. It opened, and everything I believed started collapsing again. The first time I saw Victoria lose control, it wasn't in front of me. It was in a news alert on my phone. Her company stock dropped overnight. No explanation, just numbers falling like something invisible had cut the foundation. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the screen without blinking. Mark stood behind me, already reading over my shoulder. "That's not normal," he said quietly. I didn't reply, because something inside me already knew this wasn't random. It was inside, not outside pressure, inside damage. My fingers slowly scrolled through more reports. Canceled contracts, broken partnerships, sudden leadership disputes, and one name kept appearing in patterns that didn't feel accidental. Daniel Brooks. I closed the screen for a moment, not because I didn't want to see it, because I did, and that scared me more. Later that night, Lisa's next file arrived. No greeting, no explanation, just raw internal data, hidden transfers, shifted approvals, system logs that shouldn't have been accessible without top clearance. I leaned closer to the screen. My eyes tracked every line slowly. "This is inside manipulation," I whispered without realizing it. Mark looked up immediately. "You're sure?" I didn't answer right away, because I wasn't looking for confirmation anymore. I was looking for truth, and it was already there. Lisa's message finally came through after the file. Just a few words. "He is moving money through blind approvals. Victoria never sees it." My grip tightened on the phone. Blind approvals. That meant trust. That meant access she personally allowed. That meant she gave him the door. Mark shut his laptop harder than necessary. "We go public with this," he said. "Right now." I stayed still. "No." He frowned. "What do you mean, no?" I stood up slowly. For the first time in days, my voice didn't shake. "Not yet." He stepped closer. "This is your chance. You have proof. You have everything." I looked at the screen again. Victoria's company. Falling apart. Her name attached to decisions she didn't make. And somewhere inside all of it, her face from that night at the gala came back. Calm. Cold. Certain. I exhaled slowly. "I want her to see it first," I said. Mark didn't like that, but he didn't argue again, because he knew me well enough to understand what I wasn't saying. This wasn't just truth anymore. It was timing. Days passed after that. Victoria's messages kept coming. More calls, more texts, more unread notifications stacking like pressure. I didn't open a single one. Not because I didn't see them, because I did. And I wanted her to feel that space where I used to be. Empty, unanswered, growing louder than words. One evening, Mark showed me a leaked internal memo. Her board was turning. Questions were being asked. Her father's name appeared again. Henry Hale had entered the situation directly. That changed everything, because Henry didn't ask questions twice, and he didn't forgive failure. I read the memo slowly, then closed it. "She's under pressure now," Mark said. I nodded. "I know." He studied me. "You're not enjoying this." I didn't answer immediately, because it wasn't enjoyment. It was something heavier. Understanding. Consequences don't always look like revenge. Sometimes they just look like truth catching up. The next morning, Lisa sent another fragment. This one different. Shorter. The silence hit the room before I even spoke. Not a normal silence. The kind that feels like the air itself stopped trusting anyone. Every eye stayed locked on me as I stepped further inside the hall. The same hall that once belonged to Victoria's control now felt different. Unstable, like something under perfect glass had finally cracked. My hand held the folder tight. Lisa's files. Mark's backup copies. Every truth I had been carrying alone until this moment. Victoria stood near the center of the room. Still, not moving, not speaking, but her eyes, they already knew something was coming. Daniel was slightly behind her, adjusting his cuff like nothing could touch him. That confidence didn't last long, because I stopped in front of everyone. Not close to her, not far from her, just enough for the room to see both of us clearly. I opened the folder. Paper sound cut through the silence like a blade. First document. Financial transfers. Hidden accounts. Redirections under executive access. A few heads turned instantly toward Victoria's board members. Whispers started. Small at first, then heavier. I didn't rush. My voice stayed steady. I didn't come here to argue. My fingers flipped to the next page. This is already decided. Victoria's hand moved slightly, like she wanted to speak, but nothing came out. That alone felt louder than anything. I continued. Every missing contract, every redirected fund, every silent approval, it all leads here. I placed the document on the table in front of them. Then another, each one heavier than the last. Daniel's posture changed. I saw it before anyone else did. His smile faded. Just a little, but enough. A board member stepped forward, taking one of the papers. His eyes scanned it fast, then slower, then stopped. Is this real? Someone asked behind him. No, answer came from Victoria, because she was still looking at me, like she was trying to find a man she thought she buried. But he wasn't there anymore. Mark stood near the back, arms crossed, watching everything unfold without a word. Even he wasn't interrupting, because this wasn't chaos. It was exposure. Daniel finally tried to move. A small step back, then another. But security at the entrance shifted immediately. No one stopped him with force. They didn't need to. The room already did it for them. Let me explain. Daniel finally spoke, voice tight. But no one was listening to him anymore. The papers were doing all the talking. Victoria's father entered the hall moments later. Henry Hale. His presence changed the temperature instantly. He didn't look at me first. He looked at the documents on the table, then at Victoria, then at Daniel. That was enough. No shouting, no questions, just understanding forming too fast to stop. Victoria finally moved. A small step forward. Her voice came out lower than I had ever heard it. This is not possible. I didn't react, because denial always sounds like that. Quiet first, then desperate. More whispers spread through the room. Someone from the board shook their head slowly. Another closed a laptop like it suddenly felt useless. The empire wasn't falling loudly. It was falling piece by piece in front of everyone watching. Daniel tried again. This is being manipulated. I can explain. Security moved. Not aggressive. Just final. He stopped speaking mid-sentence. No one argued. Not even Victoria. That was when I saw it. The shift in her eyes. Not anger. Not shock. Something deeper. Realization. The kind that doesn't come all at once. It breaks slowly, like glass remembering every crack. Her gaze dropped for a second, then came back to me, and stayed there longer than before. I could feel it now. She was remembering everything. Not just the company. Not just Daniel. Me. The empty dinner table. The removed photo. The unread messages she never followed up on properly. My silence. She took a step forward again. But this time there was no authority in it. Only weight. You knew, she asked softly. Not as a CEO, not as a leader, just a woman trying to understand where she lost everything. I didn't answer immediately, because the truth wasn't loud anymore. It didn't need to be. I waited. I finally said 3 words. That was all. Her breath stopped slightly, like she understood what that meant. Not waited for revenge. Not waited for justice. Waited for her. And stopped waiting. The room didn't interrupt. No one moved. Even Mark stayed quiet. Victoria's fingers curled slightly at her side. Not anger. Not defense. Lost trying to stand still. Her voice dropped lower. I didn't see it. I nodded once. I know. That hurt her more than any accusation. Because it wasn't an attack. It was acceptance. She took another step forward. Closer now, but still not close enough. I never meant. She stopped. Like the rest of the sentence broke inside her. I looked at her for a moment. Not with anger. Not with pain anymore. Just distance. You don't need to finish that, I said. Her eyes tightened slightly. Not tears yet. Something worse. Control slipping. For the first time, she didn't have anything to hold on to. Not power. Not company. Not even Daniel. Only truth standing between us. I closed the folder slowly. That sound again. Final page. Final moment. I'm done here, I said quietly. A pause spread through the room. Then I turned. Not fast. Not dramatic. Just steady. Behind me, I heard movement. Her voice broke through once. My name. Not loud. Not commanding. Just cracked at the edges. Ethan. I stopped walking. For half a second. The entire room held its breath again. But I didn't turn fully, because I didn't need to see her face to understand it anymore. Everything she felt now was something I had already lived through. I adjusted my grip on the folder, then spoke without looking back. I'm not the man you can break again. A pause. I'm not the man you can keep either. No one interrupted. Not even her. My steps continued, each one lighter than the last. Not because pain was gone, but because it was no longer leading me. Behind me, I heard it. Her voice again. Smaller now, breaking fully this time. But I didn't stop. The exit doors were already in front of me, and I walked through them. Outside air hit my face. Cold. Real. Clean in a way I hadn't felt in a long time. I stood there for a moment, just breathing. No suitcases of regret. No rings of memory. No waiting left inside me. Inside the hall behind me, I heard distant noise starting again. But it no longer belonged to my story. My phone buzzed once. Mark. I didn't answer. I just turned off the screen and started walking forward. Because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't walking away from her. I was walking into myself. And I didn't look back when she cried my name.